freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment, and you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. They hiding corruption inside the cup, look how we even set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how we even set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US, and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how we even set up. The people fed up.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. And I typically say to you, Saturday evening. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is our first Sunday evening show. Good evening, good evening. I hope you guys are doing well and the weekend is closing out beautifully for you guys. What better way to close off the weekend watching a program of Over to You? Welcome, 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 welcome. All right. You guys have built out Saturday, and I know that you guys will build out Sunday just the same way. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Please share the link, like the program, share, 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 share. We have a few things to talk about this evening. All right, I believe, and I'm sure that you guys will agree with me, that we just can't highlight issues, right? We have to search for solutions, okay? We have to search for solutions. When we find ourselves in between a rock and a hard place, we got to figure out how we are getting out from between that rock and a hard place. All right. We're going to touch on a few things. We're going to highlight a couple of things, and we're going to question a few things. All right. Please share, 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 share. I'm going to give everybody about another 2 minutes to join. I am expecting to have a guest at some point that's going to spend a little time with me this evening, okay, as we do some analysis. All right. I was gonna do some more dissecting of the budget for you guys this evening, but we're gonna refrain from that. We're gonna hold that for next Sunday. All right, we still gotta revisit that budget and really go through it page by page. All right, that's still on the books. In the interim, let's go ahead and do tonight's roll call. All right, this is our first Sunday. Eva, good evening. Thank you for joining. Francis Keith Rockcliffe, good evening, good evening. Yes, Franklin, thank you for joining the first Sunday program. Yes. Sandra Hanover, of course you're going to be here. Pleasant good evening to you. Thank you for all the work that you continue to do in the audience. Mary Figueroa, our first Canadian in the house, and right behind her, Miss Desiree Smart Felix, our second Canadian. Beatrice Selby, a pleasant good evening to you. Diamond Barbies, good evening to you. Sharon Griffith, a pleasant good evening to you. Miss Audrey Brown, good to see you. Karen Clark, good to see you. Miss Deslyn Wilson, Victoria in the house, good to see you. Miss Darkus John, good to see you. Miss Francine Cruz, a pleasure having you here. Maud Oliver, good to see you. Miss Pam Halls, good to see you. Miss Marlene Thomas in the house. A pleasant good evening to you. Verlin Ward, good evening. Jennifer Lewis, thank you for joining. A pleasant good evening to you. Paulette Hart, a pleasant good evening to you. Thank you for joining tonight. Shanette Alicia, always a pleasure seeing you. Miss Siobhan McDonald, a pleasant good evening to you. Gillian Solomon, a pleasant good evening to you. Stacey Ann Stall, good evening, good evening. Jason McDonald, my brother, it's always a pleasure having you in the house. Donna Fresno, good to see you. All right. And I know we're gonna have a few people coming in a bit later, but we're gonna get started nevertheless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've been keeping up with your news, right? We're seeing what is happening. Gene Haynes, a little late, but good evening. Good to have you here. I hope you've been keeping up in the news, right? You see what's happening across Guyana with our young people. All right. It's like we don't go a week. We definitely don't go a fortnight without tragedy in Guyana. All right. The country is smeared with blood. All right. Every fortnight is blood. Now, you guys, I don't know how much you guys have kept up with the news. I know you guys are always on point with the news. But I was saddened to see two young men basically execute each other, right, in Beirut Saturday morning. I would have seen it, you know. It is sad. It is sad to see what is happening across Guyana with our people. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, a lot of people may not want to tie it to poverty, but let me tell you something, man. Poverty, it leads to anger. All right? Because it becomes very frustrating for people. You know, every day you don't know where that bread is coming from. You don't know where the next meal is coming from. And it's frustrating for you to have to think about these things rather than, you know, yes, you're going to have to think about it on a level, but you just can't live, you know, a decent life because every day is stress, right? Every day is stress. Young ladies today, and this is not, I'm not speaking for all young ladies, but many young ladies today, they find a gentleman, they don't even give him a chance to build from time to time. And sometimes vice versa, it's the same thing with the young men, right? Is who has the most money, is who can support you, right? It's a major struggle. So one of the young individuals, the 23-year-old, was the ex-boyfriend of the female, and they also share a young child together. Figure what's going on. Figure what's going to happen to that young child when he grows up a bit and you know, and would have find out what happened to his father. And also what happened to the other gentleman that his mother was dating. Think about how he would be looking at his own mother. Think about it. You know? But that right there is a representation of a massive part of the fabric of the current state of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Right? This is going to just pass. You know, nothing is going to be taken into consideration. There must be, you know, programs put in place for young people. I mean, we've talked about this over and over and over again, right? And this is what we talk about also when we talk about people needing to be educated, right? But what's the saying? You cannot educate a child on empty stomach, right? I'm not literally talking about empty stomach when I'm talking about 23 and 25-year-old. They're merely adults. but just the pressures of living in Guyana, right? You can't even find a job. You can't even find a job. And if you find a job, they don't want to pay you. This is very, very sad. Very, very sad indeed. Right? And the landmass of Guyana is going to be there. But what eventually is going to happen if our people continue to die at the rate that they're dying? The country is going to become totally gentrified. It's going to be other people who is going to come into Guyana, and it's already started. You know, with the Bangladeshi nurses, amongst others, and they're going to reap the benefits. And the Guyanese who would have been in the country for all those years, that would have been through so much, the atrocities of the PPPC, those 23 straight years. This past 5 years is no joke. We're talking about a nation that is teetering on 60% poverty, right? So the last 5 years, although Guyana has been an oil-producing nation, right, hasn't been great for the normal Guyanese. Inflation has been through the roof. The government has done nothing, absolutely nothing, to temper cost of living. All right. When you give old age pensioners an additional $5,000, that is not aligning with cost of living and inflation. That is not. You're not considering the fact that some of these pensioners might be paying rent. There's a lot that you're not considering, right? There's a lot that is not being considered. Why? Because there's a disconnect between the politicians, specifically the politicians in the PPP party, and the general population, right? They don't understand the needs of the people. So therefore, they continue to thrive, right? And it's the other way around for the Guyanese people. You know, poverty, many can get rich from poverty. Having an impoverished nation, right? It's not everybody's living in poverty. The leaders are not. All right? And when you look at Barra Jagdeo and his actions, he enjoys seeing Guyanese in poverty. This man has been at the helm now for decades. And I have never heard this man speak anything close to saying to the Guyanese people that he cared for them, he loved them, and he's going to do the best in their interest. I've never heard that. And that is sad. That is sad. But our young people continue to lose their lives. Okay? You had a 70-year-old gentleman just jump again from the Georgetown Public Hospital to his death. Right? We had a young, pregnant woman would have jumped to her death also. Right? I hope that this sends a message to the government that whenever you have people on suicide watch, first of all, there should always be someone looking at them, and they should never be put in a facility that has multiple floors. It needs to be one floor, right? That way you mitigate the fact that anyone would be jumping to their death, right? That wouldn't be an option because it's a one-story facility and the person is under surveillance 24/7. You know, I say shame on the leadership, Frank Anthony and his leadership in the health sector, right? They've done a poor job, right? In many ways, we have a massive increase, you know, in HIV cases. Well, we had about 500, and that's just based on the sample that would have showed up for testing. All right, that's just based on the sample that would have showed up for testing. What about the large amounts of individuals that refuse to get tested, that are scared to be tested? You know, have the government open up any opportunity for these individuals to have counseling, you know, to coerce them and encourage them to get themselves tested for their own good? We have not seen that. We have not seen that. So tonight we're going to try to look at a few things that, you know, needs to be done from I would say a household, village, community perspective, right? Because this is going to become a case of survival of the fittest, right? You can see that the government doesn't care about the people. There's nobody who is really owning in on domestic violence, because this situation with these two young men, now mind you, 23 and 25 years old respectively, okay, is going to just pass along like anything else. Two young lives gone, two hurting mothers and fathers too. We're talking about Guyana here. It is not easy to raise a child. Miss Wanda London, what are you saying? HIV increase is worldwide and those people took the COVID vaccine. Expand a little more on that comment, Miss London, if you could. Yeah, but back to our young people. And then look, you're raising young children in today's Guyana, right? And you have to raise them with the added stigma. Be careful when you go there. HIV is on the rise. So picture you guys having 16-year-old and 15-year-old and 14-year-old, 13-year-old young teenagers. And you have to deal with this added pressure. You know, a young mother having a young teenage daughter. She has to go to work. She has to think, you know, is my daughter going straight home? Is my son going straight home? Because this has always been the case in Guyana, where you find older men, you know, preying on younger girls, you know. And some of these people knowingly, you know, they're infected and they just go and they just share it along without thinking about the repercussions and the consequences for that person. So we really have to be more careful. There is so much work that can be done, you know, I would say specifically from the opposition. And I feel like if the party that really jumps in front of these issues and really try to address them, you know, it would be a great accomplishment for them if they can get this done, get in front of the people. There's a lot of educating that the Guyanese people need. We have to recognize that under the 23 years that the PPP was in power, The people were just there being preyed upon. They were being conditioned by the PPPC, right? It was poverty nonstop. It was extrajudicial killings. What else was going on? University wasn't free. There wasn't an abundance of jobs out there. You didn't have any national service and these type of things that people could have gone and learned a trade amongst other things. You didn't have a booming economy in Guyana during that entire period. You had a an economy that was basically built on cocaine, right? They keep catching the boats with the large amounts back and forth, and it's just killing, it's just bloodshed. The same thing has happened here through the first 5 years. Look how much atrocities we faced under this PPP regime. And they were still able to get through all of that and would have found a way to stay in power. Now I'm going to touch quickly on lobbying firms because we kind of started on lobbying firms yesterday. And what I find is that I am on the east and everybody's on the west. Everybody agree that APNU should also hire a lobbying firm. Now, I really want to get you guys' take here. Because when you're hiring lobbying firms, I believe that somehow or the other, you are giving away, a high percentage of your sovereignty. Because now you're going to have all political parties in Guyana, all political outfits is going to have somebody in the United States, not in Guyana. They're going to be paying United States firms to lobby on their behalf. How do you guys feel about that? Please let me know in the comment because that's concerning to me. That is very concerning to me. And therefore, there can be a lot of collusion. The lobbying firms can get together, collude together, and also work with certain governments to make sure that a particular political party stays in power. And that political party that is chosen to stay in power would not necessarily have the best interests of the Guyanese people. So we have to examine things before we agree to it. I don't believe in always. This is my opinion. I don't believe in always running and trying to copy things that other people would have done. Sometimes I like to stick with the fundamentals. Right? We all know what is right and what is wrong. Right? We all know what is right and what is wrong. Andrea Boston, you're correct. We need to stand together for the rights of our country. We can only call a country our own if our elections are determined internally, not internationally. Right? That's the only way that we can call Guyana ours. Guyana is a very, very wealthy nation per capita. We all know this. The world knows this. All the investors, they know this. All right. You guys remember a time in Guyana, it's the child used to be raised by the village. All right? Your next door neighbors, auntie and uncle and all this kind of stuff, right? It's not your mother's sister, it's not your father's sister. But you have to treat them with a measure of respect, right? And if you get in trouble with them, you have to pray to God that they don't tell your parents. And back in the days, you could get licks from them, and when your parents come home, you get licks again. But how things have changed, ladies and gentlemen. How things have changed. We haven't stuck to our values and morals in Guyana. We adapted other people's morals and values. Survival of the fittest. Right? Every man for himself. You don't hold your matty on and try to pull them along. No. No. I am a part of the PPP, or I am aligned with the PPP. My mouth is where the soup is dropping. Forget about you. The PPP is doing wrong, yes, but I'm getting mine. So although they're doing wrong, I'm seeing it as righteous because I am getting mine. It's all about me and what I'm getting. We don't look to the future. We don't look to see what type of precedent that is setting, right? The tone that is setting. We just take what's there for us today. We don't think about tomorrow. We don't think about next year. We don't think about our children. We don't think about the next generation and our future bloodlines. We don't think about that. Who did that? Our ancestors did. And they did a wonderful job. Let's examine ourselves. Let's examine what we are passing down to the next generation. Just take a look at our behaviors. Take a look at our behaviors. Right? Take a look at the behaviors in Parliament. I'm going to refrain a bit. Ladies and gentlemen. Because I find that I like to give people a lot of credit by always calling, and I'm not speaking to you guys in the audience. This is not for you. This is not for you. This is for the politician out there. The politicians out there. I do like to give them that respect by calling them honorable. But I believe it's time that people really start really earning being called honorable. So I'm going to start refraining a bit here. Right? Because you know something? When we work for a people, we have to execute on their behalf. We have to recognize that we are answerable to the people. Some people seek to control the people. You cannot control people. You have to get people to buy into your vision. All right? You can't control them. No. I had this argument with that individual, and it made me very, very upset. Because the person said to me, when I find that these people are hard to control. We're all adults here. There's nobody controlling anybody. When we do this program here, there's exchanges between myself and this great audience. I don't control them. I don't control their opinions. I don't control their feelings. You have to put your vision out there. You have to lay your ideas on the table. You don't do it one time. Ladies and gentlemen, I remember, well, we had a program yesterday. Saturday before last Saturday, because last Saturday would be yesterday. We were so high. We were so high on street parliament. I'm not criticizing anybody, don't get me wrong. It was very successful. We did hint on it being consistent. You're going to have street parliament. You need to come out. You need to announce to the people early. We're going to be having street parliament bi-weekly. Or we're going to be having street parliament every week. But you must have a plan. You must have a plan. How is it that you expect that the people are going to be able to show up? You just can't come at the last minute, and tell them that you're having street parliament. Like if they don't have anything to do. Like if they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs waiting for you to call them. We have to be organized. We have to be consistent. All right? Putting aside everything, putting aside lobbying firms, putting aside financials. Let's just put aside everything. The APNU is by far the best party to run the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. When you want to talk about equal justice for all, equal distribution of wealth, every citizen being treated with dignity and respect, it would have to be the APNU. They have presented those values. And those values stood out in their manifesto. A people-centered manifesto. While everybody believed that the APNU should align themselves with a lobbying firm, I am going to hold off on that. Because I believe if the work is done on the ground and there's a clean voters list and biometrics and the next election is free and fair, I believe that the APNU can come out on top big time. The work has to be done, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just saying it, they're going to come out big time. And no, the work has to be done. Your strategic plans has to be on point. You have to be open. You have to be open to constructive criticism. You have to be open to ideas from others. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as the host of this program, I have grown right before the eyes of each and every one of you. And your comments are more than constructive. Your comments are more than intelligent. As many of you can see, I take my time and I go through your comments because I either give you a like, I give you something, or I answer you back. Specifically Facebook, I have not been able to do that for you too. There's no one individual that can win this fight. There is a job in this fight for each and every one of us. Right now, my job is to host this program, but I can be called off soon to do something else. You always have to be ready. You always have to be ready. Shondell Griffith, why are you saying that I lie? You, for one, know that I go through all these comments. Yeah. As I was saying, there's a place for everyone in this fight. All right? We know that the APNU is the party for Guyana. They need to come out and they need to work behind their vision. They need to work behind that great manifesto that they would have presented for the 2025 regional and general elections. And with that manifesto that the APNU would have presented, it also showed that our people are lacking greatly. They're not reading. Had they taken the opportunity to dig into that manifesto, and had they taken the opportunity to do comparative analysis, because when you open the APNU manifesto, what are you comparing it against? Not the PPP manifesto. The PPP manifesto is full of lies. You open the APNU manifesto and you compare it against the body of work of the PPP for the last 5 years. That's where you do the comparative analysis. Okay? In the last 5 years, you had one cash distribution. It was organized and executed poorly. Okay? Poorly. They're now hustling with electronic banking. Why? Because social media and the opposition would have called for electronic banking. Why aren't every Guyanese a part of electronic banking? You have pensioners fainting away online. Hold up. While we on that, it opens another door. Many have spoken about being online during the time of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham leadership. Whether it is to pick up flour or it is to pick up whatever you're online for, cheese, whatever it is you're online for. But let's think of it. Think of what time we were living in at that point. Today, we are supposed to be living in the modern day. And when to pick up the cash transfer, where was everybody? Online. So this is where I catch the PPP lapsing all the time. Because every soul they try to create, we have a plaster for it. It's utter nonsense what they're talking. Utter nonsense across the board. Anything that the PPP has to say about Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham would be disrespectful. Would be disrespectful. Shame on them. Shame on them. Look at Guyana today. Look at our roads. Full of blood. The worst accidents you can see right there in Guyana. You have trucks with heavy load. 18-wheelers, the load is not even loaded properly. How many times have we seen containers fall off of trucks? They're not going to stop until one of those things fall off of a truck and smash someone to death. They're not going to stop. But it is 7:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States, and I'm sure 8:49 Guyana time. I want to thank everyone for allowing Bench Up Radio 107.1 FM and this program over to you into your homes this Sunday evening. Continuing, ladies and gentlemen, we would have seen a lot of projects is being done along the East Coast, right? Where we are accustomed seeing small canals along the East Coast growing up. You would see small canals. Just about every village over had a small canal. Those are now being turned into drainers, right? They're being turned into small drainers now. Everyone, for the people who have bridges across those canals, the bridges are being broken down. And then the government would have claimed that they are going to be reconstructing new bridges to them, concrete structures, from what I would have heard. All right? Concrete structures. My question, though, is on the coastline, we've always had an issue of drainage and irrigation. Right? We always have a drainage issue. That's why we stand behind drainage and irrigation when it comes to the coastline. All right. So now when you create drainers, now remember, a drainer would hold much less water than a canal by far. Right? By far. I have not seen the government put forth, any solution as to where, because the water is going to fall. We're going to get these massive rainfalls. It's not going to stop. We're going to get these massive rainfalls. My question is, where is the water going? Is it maybe after every 3 or 4 villages, you're going to have a big canal that you're going to drain these drainers into this canal? And when the rain is falling, you're going to have because I always believe, especially on the coastline, there should be rangers with a motorcycle and equipped and everything that they can go and turn on the pumps once, the meteorologists say that we are having heavy rain. They should always be ready and on standby. As soon as the rain starts pouring, they make their way to the pumps and turn the pumps on. Right? That way you're not allowing the water to back up. I don't know what is the solution, for the water to drain off whenever, the rain is going to fall. And thank you, Miss Maxine Monroe. She gave me a nice feather in my cap right there. She said, oh, yes, Wayne always respond to my comments after every show. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your clarity, Miss Monroe. Thank you so much. Yeah. But I understand, you're trying to make things, I guess they're trying to kind of like Americanize things in Guyana. But are we ready for that? Are we ready for that? Right? Are we ready for that? And then the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, look at Georgetown. What are we doing in Georgetown, ladies and gentlemen? Georgetown is already low and below sea level. We know this. All right. We see what happens when rain fall. A good 20-minute shower in Georgetown. I cannot believe after all these decades that issue cannot be remedied yet. It is shameful. The Garden City, the main city in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, it floods like that. And then on top of that, what are we doing? We are building out massive hotels. Oh yes, we are building hotels like if hotels are out of style. Right? Guyana is slowly becoming a tourist nation. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, when you build hotels, right, you're going to have a whole lot of rooms, right? And plus you have homes in the city. I want to ask this question to the PPP. Where is all that sewage going? Now they have businesses that comes with trucks and pumps out the sewage. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They go and they dump that sewage back into the Atlantic. All right? That sewage was never treated. All right? That was never treated. We need a sewage treatment plant in Guyana. Just borderline outside of Georgetown there, where all the sewage can be channeled to that plant and be treated. How are we saying that we are building out a city and we don't know where the sewage is going to be going? But we busy building. We talking about infrastructure. And to add to that, and we could start off with one, but you're going to need multiple. You're going to need multiple sewage treatment plants. But you start off with one. You trained people. Audrey Brown said tourist accident, murder, and rape. And you could throw in extrajudicial killings into that too. Yes. To add also to that sewage treatment plant, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely need a couple of incinerators across Guyana for garbage. Right? You need one just outside of Georgetown, somewhere in the back, somewhere, to take care of hospital waste. You're going to start off with hospital waste, because hospital waste is going to contain the most diseases. You can't just take that and just bury it anyway. You see, we are lawless in Guyana. The government is lawless. Frank Anthony, shame on you. How do we get these things done, ladies and gentlemen? How do we get these things done? We get these things done when lead party in government is engaged in the opposition. Because then you get different thought processes and you put them together, and that's where you make your decisions. And for some reason, ladies and gentlemen, Guyana seem to always be falling on luck, right? Not luck for the people. Not luck for the people, but luck always seems to fall this government's way. Because I know that many of you are aware now that the United States and Israel is at war with Iran, right? Oil prices are going to really kick up. Oil prices are going to pick up. Revenue is going to be coming into Guyana that was not expected. But every time this happens, it is never favorable to the people of Guyana. It is never favorable. 2 minutes to 8 Eastern Standard Time here in the US. Ladies and gentlemen, look, we have 6 ethnic groups across Guyana. I find there are some of these ethnic groups that are really trying to live as one. And then there's a specific ethnic group. I'm not going to say everybody that's a part of that ethnic group, but the majority of them begs to differ. And at some point, this opposition is going to have to show some true spine and start getting in, particularly into the African Guyanese communities, and really come and put a plan together to start making the people self-sufficient. Because if you can do that, that's going to answer a lot of questions, and that's going to put a lot of people on the backbone, on the back foot. Because during those years of the contraband, it was the African Guyanese that were the consumers. Like I would have said yesterday, they would have given up farming. They would have given up farming their own lands. Many of them, not every single one of them, but many. And they would have become consumers. Look, I'm going to say this to every Guyanese on the ground. Examine yourself. Do not allow government to shape your life and who you become. Do not allow it. Okay? You should be the person solely shaping who you become. And yes, you may look up and you may find a few role models here and there. You may look to your parents. You may look to your grandparents. That is fine. That is fine. Do not allow another ethnic group, and I'm saying this for all ethnic groups, whether you're East Indian, whether you're African, whether you're Portuguese, Chinese, whatever, mixed race, whatever. Do not allow anybody to shape who you become. All right? You have to own who you become. You have to own your career. All right? You may not see a light at the end of the tunnel right now. And this is for the young people. That don't mean that you don't educate yourself. You throw in the towel and you give up. No. No. Because doors have a way of opening suddenly. Okay? Doors have a way of opening suddenly. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come down to program time here, I'm going to say this. There is a lot of work to be done. For all of us, there's a lot of work to be done. There is enough that it can be shared around, and each and every one of us can play a part in this work. All right? We are not going to lay over as a people and just allow people to just walk all over us. All right? Everybody always look at the notion that Parliament is the way. No, Parliament doesn't have to be the way. If they have the Parliament under control, then we have to, I don't say that we give up fighting in Parliament. We must fight in Parliament. We must fight. That's our constitutional right. We must fight in Parliament. But we must get on the ground in our communities. You see, if we was doing that, people could not have just walk up and drive up into our communities and have our people flock into them and fall into their knees. All right? Like Mr. Ben Chapo always say, and I quote him, you know, when you pick a fight, you have to stick with the fight. You have to be consistent in your fight. Okay? I cannot be here this weekend, and then next weekend and the following weekend I'm off. We got to be consistent. We can do it. Yes, we can. All right? We can do it. Yes, we can. We must lock arms. We must lock arms, ladies and gentlemen, and we must walk together. If it is that we have to make good trouble, then so be it. We will not be deterred by any ethnic relations commission or anyone. All right? We will work within the ambit here at Bench Up Radio, within the ambits of the broadcasting rules and legislation. All right, we have been doing so, we will continue to do so, but that will not stop us from being effective voices of dissent right here on Bench Up Radio 107.1 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come quickly here to the end of the fastest hour on Sunday. We have come to the end of tonight's program. Please, guys, drop your comments. If there's anything that you want us to discuss, please drop your comments and I'll pick them up. I'll read them. And don't forget, we are on next Saturday and Sunday. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please have a great week, everyone. Be careful. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Those on the ground in Guyana, as you commute the highways and the byways, please don't drive for yourself. Drive also for the pedestrians and other motorists across the road or on the road. On the roads, look out for yourself. Look out for your families, everyone. Let's continue to lock arms. Be safe. I love you. Love you. Love you all. And listen, you guys set a record this weekend. All those who joined today, this was the first Sunday. So this was special. Okay? Until next Saturday, over to you. Good night. Good night.
Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up.